chào các bạn. Hãy tưởng tượng rằng các bạn đang ngồi ăn tối trong nhà thì chợt nhận ra có một chú mèo hoang ở trước cửa cứ ngồi nhìn mình chằm chằm. Thì các bạn sẽ làm gì? Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau đọc một cuốn sách có tên là Mrs. Peachtree and the 8th Avenue Cat để cùng xem khi Mrs. Peachtree gặp chú mèo hoang như vậy thì bà sẽ xử lý ra sao nha. Nào, chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thôi. The cat pressed his nose to the window of Mrs. Peachtree's 8th Avenue tea shop. His coat was scruffy, and the corner of his left ear was bitten off. "Must that cat stare like a fool in love?" said Mrs. Peachtree. "Maybe he's hungry," suggested a customer. "So, do I look like a fish cake?" That evening, alone in her flat above the store, Mrs. Peachtree watched the lamplighter making his rounds. Later, in the flickering glow of the gas lamp, she saw the cat's shadow. "I suppose I could feed him just this once." She cut up a bit of chicken and took it downstairs. The cat purred. He circled her skirt. "Don't you try to butter me up, cat," she said. The next day, Mrs. Peachtree was stacking tins of tea. The postman opened the door. "I didn't know you had a cat," he said. "I don't," replied Mrs. Peachtree. Up jumped the cat. Tins toppled everywhere. "Meow," said the cat. "Meow yourself," said Mrs. Peachtree, and she chased him out. "Scat, cat, and don't come back." At closing time, Mrs. Peachtree walked up 8th Avenue to deliver a basketful of tea. "Hey, lady," a wagon driver shouted. "Your cat's about to get trampled." Mrs. Peachtree looked back. Fool cat. She picked him up. The cat purred. At the corner, she put him down. "Now, go away. You are not my shadow," she said. "And I am not your fish cake." While she was eating dinner, Mrs. Peachtree glanced out her window. The cat stared back. "I can't just let him starve." She cut up a bit of meat pie and took it downstairs. The cat ran in. "Who invited you, cat?" She pushed him out. Then she lingered on the stoop, watching him eat. Early in the morning, Mrs. Peachtree heard the milkman's wagon coming down the street. Clip-clop went his horse. Clinka-clinka went the milk bottles. Clinka-clinka, crash! Mrs. Peachtree hurried outside. She glared at the cat. "Meow," said the cat. "Meow yourself," she chased him away. "Scat, cat, and don't come back." Day after day, the cat sat on the stoop. Customers stopped to pet him. "You have a nice cat," said a man. "He's not my cat," said Mrs. Peachtree. One evening, Mrs. Peachtree leaned out the window. "Meow," howled the cat. You again?" grumbled Mrs. Peachtree. She cut up a bit of herring and took it downstairs. The cat ate. Then he rolled over. "You can't bamboozle me with your cute streaks," she said. Then she sat beside him, watching the carriages roll by. A few days later, the iceman brought a block of ice for Mrs. Peachtree's icebox. In came the cat. He dropped something at Mrs. Peachtree's feet. "What a good mouser," said the iceman. "He's brought you a present." "Who's scared of my customers?" cried Mrs. Peachtree. She grabbed her broom. The cat squinted up at her. "But he likes you," said the iceman. "He thinks I'm a fish cake," said Mrs. Peachtree. She swept the cat out the door. She swept him off the stairs. She swept him down the street. "Scat, cat, and don't come back." The iceman climbed into his wagon. "Smells like rain," he said. Mrs. Peachtree looked up. Dark clouds were moving swiftly across the gray sky. All afternoon, Mrs. Peachtree listened to rain beating on the glass. A customer came in. "Where's your cat?" "I don't have a cat." She glanced out at the wet stoop. "What do you suppose cats do in the rain anyway?" "They get cold and wet and scared," said the customer. "Oh dear," said Mrs. Peachtree. Gusts of wind rattled the windows that night. Lightning flashed across the sky. Mrs. Peachtree stared down at the deserted street. "Fool cat must be out there somewhere." She cut up a bit of liver. She put on her raincoat and went downstairs. "Here, cat! Time for supper, cat!" She searched the alley. "Lose something?" asked the lamplighter. "Just a cat," replied Mrs. Peachtree. "Have you seen him?" "No one should be out on a night like this," said the lamplighter. "Not even a cat." Mrs. Peachtree shuddered. In the middle of the night, she got up. She gazed out the window for a long time. By the morning, the rain had stopped. Mrs. Peachtree hurried downstairs. She stared at the untouched plate of food. Then she went next door to the hat shop. "Have you seen a cat?" she asked. "The scruffy thing that sits on your stoop?" said the milliner. "He's not that scruffy," said Mrs. Peachtree. "Have you seen him?" "No," said the milliner. Mrs. Peachtree walked up and down 8th Avenue. She peeked into window boxes. She peered under wagons. She poked behind stairways. "Have you seen a cat with half a left ear?" she asked the greengrocer. The greengrocer shook his head. "But cats are like that," he said. "They come and they go." "Oh," said Mrs. Peachtree. she trudged home. "Where's your cat?" asked the milkman. "I don't have a cat," Mrs. Peachtree sighed. "Not anymore." In the shop, she cleared off the counter. Slowly, she scooped tea leaves into tins. The postman opened the door. Mrs. Peachtree turned. "Have you seen?" Các bạn đã tìm ra chú mèo chưa nào? Cảm ơn các bạn đã lắng nghe câu chuyện lần này. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn vào lần sau. Chào tạm biệt. Cảm ơn các bạn đã lắng nghe. Mong rằng các bạn cảm thấy thú vị khi đọc cuốn sách này cùng tụi mình. Cuốn sách nói Read Along Book này được thực hiện bởi Lotus Community, là một dự án thư viện phi lợi nhuận. Lotus Community mong muốn những cuốn sách tiếng Anh chất lượng tốt có thể tới tay mọi gia đình khắp đất nước Việt Nam. Để tìm hiểu thêm về dự án, các bạn vui lòng ghé qua lotuscommunity.org.vn nhé.